Okay, so welcome back to Simply Race for the USSC Cup Championship with round 2, Watkins, Glen. Got some excited Nathan Burton behind me as we're going to get to, Darren Kirk is going to be starting on second position with Dane Oliver in first. They two are going to be very close off the line, so it's going to be very interesting to see how them two get on. And we've got slower drivers down the back of the field. Some we don't really expect. Will Murphy and David Robson in 11th and 12th place. They're going to be ones to watch out for coming through the field. And Colin Talbot, a strong sixth from him, puts him first of the mid-pack. And it's going to be a very, very exciting first race of the evening. As cars then will then transfer onto the racetrack for the standing start that will turn this first race. So we'll get that underway very shortly. And we might as well speak to Nathan Burton while he's here. Nathan, come on in. Give me something to talk about. So, how are you finding the circuit after practice?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I've not actually driven anything on in any way, shape or form since the last USSC. So I did 40 minutes practice before we started, and I wasn't particularly great. And then just going into that, I just managed to get the perfect lap towards the end, and then got a nice toe out of the last two corners, which put me just above whoever was in first at the time.
Awesome. So what's your main concern going into this race? Is it front left or fuel, or how are you going to play it?
Yeah, my tyres are rubbish. I'm really bad on the tyres. I'm probably going to have to change the front left.
Yeah, I found that. I nicked Will Murphy's go as he wasn't actually here when we started the second session, so I had a quick go just to see what the track was like, and I went through my left front extremely fast. So we're going to see, especially some of the more aggressive drivers and their style, definitely going to struggle on that front left. I think there's going to be some cars that are going to have to do a late-minute change, I think. But we'll see. With some of the few smoother drivers that are maybe a few tenths off the pace might actually find themselves in a really strong position at the end of this race if they have to make another tyre change.
Yeah, I'm probably just going to go straight, like when I do my fuel, just change the front left. Because I did that in that pre-qualifying session, and you don't lose too much time doing it. And then it was 16 to just do the front left.
Just do front left.
Yeah.
I did all four.
I heard that it makes the car quite unstable having
One
one new, yeah.
I set my fastest time after changing my front left.
Okay, fair enough.
So.
I definitely think that it might be worth doing, but between the middle of the race, even just having a 15-minute practice, the left front was...
You've got to be able to get quite a big chunk of time back, because I don't know how long it is, 10 seconds, is it? 16, that's 16 seconds. That means...
What's the fuel like? Fuel will take about...
It's not concurrent, is it? So
No.
they do it separately, so fuel is done separately to tyres. So 16 seconds means you need to be at least a second lap faster having done it. Therefore, I don't think it's worth doing.
I agree on that, but I think we'll see some drivers hitting the cliff with the tyre at the end of it and end up being at least maybe 3 seconds slower than everybody else. So I think we're going to get going very, very shortly. So we'll sit back and enjoy this race. Right then, we're all set. We're going to just change the screens in a second, and we'll be able to join the start of this race. Now all the cars will then transfer onto the grid. So we've got Dane Oliver on pole position with Darren Kirk in second place, Luke Austin in third, and David Robson in fourth. John Walker in fifth, John Curry, good strong position from him in sixth place, Colin Talbot in seventh, Alistair Dendy in 8th place, Ian Redman in 9th, Chris Wilson in 10th, Andrew Fellows and Will Murphy are 11th and 12th. Then Yoshi Tanaka, a new arrival to this series, will be starting 13th. So good luck to all drivers, and we'll soon be getting underway now. As they're just lined up in the pit lane. They'll have to follow the safety car around so the Corvette pulls out and away the drivers go. And there's a slight glitch with the safety car, but it's no problem there. So as we're watching Colin Talbot in that Cam Sport orange and white machine just going out there. So really everybody's talking about this front left tyre and how it's going to play out at the start of this race. Going into it, there's going to be a huge amount of confusion whether to change tyre during the fuel stop, because they will have to put another 10 or so litres in during this race, which will obviously cost some time. So it's just changing the front left costs about 16 seconds, as we were speaking about with Nathan Burton earlier. To change a whole set would take about 34 seconds, so it is a huge chunk of time. You have to be extremely fast if you want to gain that time back. So everybody's just warming the tyres up. So we get ready. So we're just watching Colin Talbot now, and we've got, I believe it's Alistair Dundee in the yellow and black car right on the right side of him. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see how everybody comes through turn one. Turn one's it's quite a tricky corner, it's very deceptive, it creeps up on you quite quickly, and it's got a bit of camber going into the apex of the corner, which does help the car rotate, but it can spit you out the other side quite nasty. So we'll have to see who makes it through turn one. There's a lot of runoff at the exit of turn one, in fact, so everyone should get through okay. And it's kind of down to track limits, really down to race director's discretion on this one. But as long as everybody doesn't abuse the track limits, then we should be fine as we line up to go racing. So everybody's going to hold and wait for the green lights to go out, and they go out now. So we are racing. And it's a good start from Dane Oliver in first place, who leads down into turn one, but Darren Kirk is looking very, very strong. And Colin Talbot making a great start there to fifth place, running slightly wide, but both out. And Darren Kirk is on the inside going into turn two, so he grabs the lead from Dane Oliver. And Luke Austin slips back into third place, so we've got two 130 race cars in the top four here. And Colin Talbot's made a great start in fifth place, as Ian Redman and Andrew Fellows done quite a good job as well. So, and there's Luke Austin challenging for the lead, in fact, coming into the bus stop chicane, we'll call it, but it's extremely tight through there, and everybody's done a great job to get through there unscathed. So it's still Darren Kirk who leads from Dane Oliver in second place, but very close behind is Luke Austin, who squiggles a bit coming through that long right-hand corner. You've got to be so patient, and Darren Kirk seems to be getting away, abusing the track limit slightly. But Dane Oliver now defending heavily from Luke Austin, who's looking to make a move down into the left-hander. Will he make it stick? We'll have a look. And it's extremely close, but gets away with it. So everybody being very, very good on this first lap. Some great racing here. As everybody's still within a few seconds of each other. So it's great racing going on here. See further back Andrew Fellows in 8th position, making up a few places, and Will Murphy, who's we're on board with now, in fact, as he looks at the back of Andrew Fellows' green machine. Misses the apex slightly, but you can kind of get away with that, and everybody will then be on flat on the throttle going up towards the bus stop chicane again, reaching about 145 miles an hour, especially in the toe. The toe is very important to make sure you stay with the car in front of you. As we can see, I believe it's Ian Redmond just on the back, looking at the back of Colin Talbot now as we go through into this bus stop chicane. So let's see if Ian can stick around the outside. No, Colin holds at that position fine. So good defence from Colin, but you're going to slightly wide coming out that corner, so Ian can grab the inside line, see if he can get it through. Yes, he can. They run side by side through here. This is very, very close. If Colin goes slightly wide, I think Ian's just going to get the position, but as long as he lets Colin back on the track, it's extremely close. Good defence from Colin. And now we've got John Walker coming into this battle as well now, so he's going to go and try and dive up the side pair of them, but they bang wheels, in fact, so this is going to allow John Walker into first place, and Colin Talbot spins. Oh no, it's such a shame, out of fifth position. He did great at defending from John Walker there, and David Robson, but Ian Redmond, in fact, apologies, but unfortunately had to give best. So now we're on board with Will Murphy, who's now in 8th place thanks to Colin Talbot spinning out. He just taps the back of Andrew Fellows. We've got another car on the end side of Andrew Fellows. I think that was John Curry, or I think it was John Curry who got tangled up there, and so he regains in 8th position. Andrew Fellows has now dropped down to 12th, so that's a shame for him after making up a few places at the start. We're now looking back at the top four, who have spread out quite somewhat in the last two laps, and all the action seems to be back in the mid-pack, but now everybody's going to be starting to calm down a bit. As we see two cars together there, that's John Walker and Ian Redmond still fighting it out, as we see Will Murphy now taking advantage of that, going right up the inside of John Walker into the chicane there, but they're just about to close the door. That's so close there, and actually John's got a massive tank slap. He's going to come back across the track just in front of Will Murphy there. gives Ian Redmond the place, and Alistair Dendy, in fact. So John Walker's lost a load of positions there after that, and he's actually now back with Colin Talbot, who spun out earlier. So Colin didn't actually lose that much time after that spin. So this from 5th to 9th is still very, very close. The top 4 are breaking away here quite considerably, but everybody after that is still very close in contention to pick up some points. So we'll keep going. We're only no more than 4 minutes into this race, and it's still too much to talk about. As we see, I think that's Alistair Dendy going wide. Yeah, Alistair Dendy just running right, coming out of turn number 1. So we're just looking at the back of Will Murphy's car now as they come through the flat out complex over the bridge. They'll be flat out. They'll be getting maximum draft coming down here, hitting 145 miles an hour in 5th gear before they slam on the brakes to go through this very, very tricky chicane with quite high curves. The cars don't seem to like these high curves. Oh, John Walker's so close to the back of Will Murphy there. I'm amazed they didn't touch and take each other out. So that was extremely close there. Thankfully, damage isn't on. Otherwise, we'd have a few cars that were hanging about at the back at the moment. So the race goes on. We've only got a full 10th gap between Dana Oliver in first place and Darren Kirk, so that's still one to look out for as we see Luke Austin getting on that triangular curve coming out the penultimate corner and costing him a heap of time. And now this is the battle we're watching for first place, which is Darren Kirk now on the back of Dane Oliver. I think Darren Kirk's going to be quite smart here and just sit behind Dane, save some fuel and tyres, and then push harder when it comes to the pit stop phase, because Dane is pretty quick anyway and it seems to be pulling away from Dave Robertson in 3rd. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Darren plays this, because he's not done, we'll put it that way. He's a very strategic driver, so he's going to be thinking about all the possibilities, but he is getting close to the back of Dane Oliver. Maybe he'll lift off and maybe he's going to go for the move. I think he's actually going to go for the move here, so he's a very aggressive turn of events from Darren Kirk, because he's going to take the lead and Dane Oliver succeeds that place. So Darren Kirk moves into first position and Dane Oliver really close to the back of him, but Darren really nice through that bus stop chicane section, and he grabs the lead back. So there's some contact going on here. Oh no, and I believe that was John Walker going off there. Or was it Alistair Dendy? Alistair Dendy went off there, and I think that was a bit of a concertina effect from Ian Redmond just getting a bit of a tank slapper. And then so we'll see a replay. This is I believe it's Andrew Fellows, and he was a passenger in that one. He couldn't do anything about it. 2 other cars having a bit of a squabble in front of him. He carried so much more speed through that section, but unfortunately he just ended up being collected. So he lives to fight another day. Ian Redmond still in 6th place now with John Curry just in front of him. A good showing from John Curry in his, I believe his first round of the new United States Sprint Cup Championship. You see back with Ian Redmond now with Will Murphy just behind him in 7th place. So everybody's kind of squabbling around the mid-pack, and really that's allowing the top 4 to really get away. Now there's a 5-second gap between 4th and 5th. So as you see a static camera now of this is the leaders coming down. So Darren Kirk, you can see, still in the lead from Dane Oliver in 2nd place, but they're very close together and coming through this quick section here. So cars nicely loaded up through there, everybody very smooth through there. It's a nice camera angle that was, so we'll have more of that throughout the race. But so he's still 3 tenths between Darren Kirk and Dane Oliver. I think these two are playing a bit of their own game and just making sure they get away from Dave Robertson in first place. However, David Robertson and Darren Kirk are teammates, so Darren might be getting in front of Dane just to back him up slightly into his teammate. And, so there might be a bit of a team rivalry here. As we're now with Will Murphy in the purple helmet's car, chasing down Ian Redmond. Not using all of the track for that section, but still Will is quite quick around here, it seems, and especially as he literally just came in just as practice finished, so he hasn't actually done any laps of this track yet. So well done to Will for picking it up very quickly. So we're just looking at Ian Redmond and John Curry, who's ahead of him. Strong show from John Curry as well, so again, because he's done a fantastic job so far. So, and the recovering Colin Talbot in 8th place. So Colin hasn't actually lost too many places. He did come up to 5th at the start of this race, but unfortunately spun out. So I think another car just tapped him in the rear and spun him round. So it's a good recovery from him. He hasn't actually lost that many places, so he can still get some decent points out of this. And Will Murphy, having a look at Ian Redmond, jumps loads of the curb but gets away with it. So, and Ian Redmond actually skipping that last chicane there. So see if he's going to be affected in the next couple of corners. That he'll have grass and a bit of dirt on his tyres. So I don't think that's the case, and he got away with it. So everybody obeying track limits nicely at the moment. But soon we're going to see this front left tyre where start to come into play, and some cars are going to be struggling massively. We see the track definitely starting to rubber in a bit more. We can see it getting darker, definitely on the racing line. So we'll see who blinks first come the pit stop phase, but for now it's just a straight out sprint race. And 4 tenths covers the first and second place, with David Robertson 1.5 seconds behind Darren Kirk, his teammate, as Dane Oliver has now taken the lead. So that is a strong showing from Dane. That he made me promise. Well, he made me say that he hasn't actually been back here since the last round, because I said last time that he's always here. So he's stepped back from Simply Race for a bit, it seems, but he's still showing his pace. As he's now at only Darren Kirk's now only 0.2 behind Dane Oliver. So that's still a battle to watch up front. But for now, we're watching Will Murphy and Ian Redmond. They've been very attracted to each other come this race so far. Yeah, that's a bit of a weird way of saying it, but never mind. I'll keep going. And it's still going through this long section. Ian Redmond seems to take a bit of a wider line than Will Murphy going through that section. He seems to carry more speed. There seems to be a bit more grip, it seems, round the outside, but he might come unstuck once the track starts to get more rubbed in and Mark starts to get laying down. But definitely Will Murphy quick through these last 2 corners, it seems. He's going to get a really good run onto the straight as long as he keeps it pinned, which he has done. He moves out straight away to defend, does Ian Redmond. Drives him all the way to the wall and a bit more. So it is very Schumacher-esque. So let's see if Will Murphy, So Will Murphy actually makes it past Ian Redmond. We got to put that in the highlights later on. Will Macker moves past Ian Redmond for 6th place, so he gets the job done, and then chases after John Curry, who's just about a second up the road from him. But Ian Redmond's not done yet. He's still fighting around the back of Will Murphy's car, getting in the draft, so he might actually try and pop out and look for a move here. No, he thinks better of it and tucks back in. So as he gets a bit of a wobble, Ian Redmond goes straight lines to that chicane again, and hopefully he seems to recover absolutely fine, so he carries on. There's still 3 tenths between the top 2, Dane Oliver from Darren Kirk, and we're actually watching that battle now. So I think this is quite an intense battle, it seems, and it's going to carry on for quite some time. Darren's got a great run out of the last corner, so we'll go and see if Dane's going to defend into this first corner. I don't think he will do. No. So Darren just holds back for the meantime, but these two are still using each other drafting just to pull a gap on David Robson. Now the gap's 2.5 seconds back, so we can see a shot backwards onto Darren Kirk's car from Dane Oliver, and just see how close this is. So Darren's definitely going to get a run on here, and he'll use the toe to just drift up to the back of him. There we go. Is Dane going to defend? No, he doesn't. So these two are basically working together to pull a gap up the other cars. So their best lap time so far, I think best lap time of the race so far is a 1:14 flat, so that's pretty quick, and that time will definitely come down. But as the tyre degradation starts to take effect, the lap times will start to drop quite dramatically, and we'll see cars start to drop off. So it's going to be very close coming into the end of this race, and we might see someone who's in the mid-pack suddenly jump up into a podium position just being smart with tyres. So that's going to be interesting to watch, as we're now nearly half an hour till the end of this race, 15 minutes gone, and still it's Darren Kirk from Dane Oliver from David Robertson in 3rd, Luke Austin in 4th. He's having quite a lonely race at the moment, Luke Austin, but I think he doesn't mind it. Still some good points for the championship, with John Curry in 5th place and Will Murphy in 6th, and Colin Talbot, recovering from his earlier spin in 5th place, is now 7th, and Andrew Fellows and Alistair Dendy both falling short from incidents about 5 minutes ago. So still great to see these two battling, and Dane Oliver's actually looking to make a move here on Darren Kirk again, so they're using this straight every single time to just draft past each other, having one lap in the lead then changing over again. But they're side by side now coming into the bus stop chicane. Who's going to break latest? It's going to be Dane Oliver, who snatches the lead from Darren Kirk back again. So these two are continuously fighting over that one piece of tarmac, and now Darren seems to get the run. We've got an on board with Darren now, so we can see his throttle and steering inputs coming into this race. And this is a great battle we've got here, so we can see the fully green lit draftometer, we like to call it. And no, it's called the draftometer. That's what we call it. So it shows Now, this is a problem through here because it actually, draftometer, we'll call it draftometer just for you, Ben. But down the straights is helpful. In the corners, it's most definitely not, because you get the dirty air effect that's the same as you get in Formula One and other strong aero championships, where you actually lose grip because you haven't got a steady airflow going over the wings in the car. So it's actually costing Darren in the corners. But on the straights, such as now, where he's got his foot pinned to the floor, it will definitely be helping him to close up on Dane Oliver to try and make a move back again. So as you see Darren now just getting very, very close. You can see how strong the draft is coming through this straight. So now he's going to have full maximum draft. He pulls out 143 miles an hour side by side and gets past him. So he's actually fully alongside him and then past. So takes a lot of curb, and definitely his experience of Wilton Mill helping him there to get past on them curbs. These cars really don't seem to like it. And you can see how smooth he is on the steering as well, just from that on-board shot. But Darren Kirk doing a good job there, getting past Dane Oliver for first place again, but we'll most definitely see a change in the next lap. So we see Dane Oliver very, very close to the back of Darren Kirk now. I think these two are just respecting each other and having a good fun race for the meantime before it gets to the serious stuff in less than half an hour's time. But Dane Oliver going slightly wide there, nearly touching the wall but getting away with it. But and they seem to drop David Robertson. He's quite in a lonely third place at the moment, and Luke Austin likewise. But everybody seems to spread out quite somewhat. The closest battle is for first place, so we'll keep with these guys for the moment. But as we see, John Curry's moved up into 5th place as well, with Will Murphy in 6th. So those two are 2.5 seconds away from each other, so it's going to be quite close. We see Dane Oliver again going for a move on Darren Kirk, so he gets past him in the slipstream, and Dane will most certainly almost lead. Yep, into that bus stop chicane, taking a lot of curb there, back on board with Darren Kirk, and he'll start to feather the throttle through this long right-hand corner, a bit stab on the brakes in fact, before getting back on the power. You can see, I'm trying to see how much tyre wear he's got, but we can't see it. We know he's got 8 litres of fuel left, so 9 litres of fuel, so it won't be long before these guys will be in for their pit stop to put some more fuel in. And I think some drivers will almost definitely be changing tyres as well, just going for a gamble, especially if you're in the mid-pack and can risk losing some points, if not making sure you can actually gain some more. So as we see, so Dane's trying to shake the draft off Darren, but he's just staying with him for the moment. So Dane's got quite a bit of a gap now, a bit bigger of a gap than what we've seen over the last few laps, but that just gives Darren Kirk more time to just draft up to the back of him down this straight. He'll have a massive toe this time coming up the back. You see it's already gaining. So as we see Ian Redmond now on the back of Colin Talbot coming through going through the first corner in fact, running a bit wide and getting a bit squirrely coming out of turn 1. And see down in the right hand side Darren Kirk just getting past Dane Oliver again, so them two trading places. Again, we've seen about 10 changes for the lead so far between Darren Kirk and Dane Oliver, so it's been a great battle so far from them two. But, certainly the mid-pack has now calmed down a tiny bit from the melee that we had earlier with a few cars spinning out, but everybody's still having nice clean races so far, and everybody seems to be enjoying themselves thoroughly. So you see coming down to complete lap 13 of this 45-minute race. We've got an onboard now with Dane Oliver, which looks pretty cool. You can see a virtual thing of his hands. Representation of his hands. Thank you very much for that. I wasn't very good at English at school, so it's still on board with Dane Oliver as they go through the first section. There's still a tiny bit of a gap, so Darren's might be pushing a bit now to try and break this toe from Dane, but Dane will almost be definitely doing his 100% to keep with him. But now they've extended the gap 3.5 to Dave Robertson, so Dave is still a tiny bit off the pace. But it might be because just simply these two are using each other as a toe to just pull away from the pack. And because the best lap time from Dane Oliver is a 1:14.0, so that's pretty fast. And Darren Kirk's even broken to the 1:13s, it seems. So these two quite a bit faster than everybody else at the moment. Andrew Fellows hasn't really seemed to recover from this from his accident earlier. He's still in 12th place, 1.6 behind Alistair Dendy, who also had a slight off-track excursion earlier on. but everybody coming around to complete lap 14 now, as we see. So we see the lap times here. So this is the previous lap times, in fact. So Darren Kirk, last time around, put in the fastest lap of the race, 1:13.9. And Dane Oliver a second slower than that, but they're both almost identical lap times coming through, within half a tenth, so that's very, very close. David Robson are now half a second off, and there's only a thousandth of a second separating David Robson and Luke Austin's time before the graphic moved away there, so still very, very close on lap times. And everybody was the top. I believe the top three in practice with the top three were within half a tenth of everybody. It was extremely close in practice earlier. So you wait till the A race, we're going to have some mega racing going on. And as we still see Darren Kirk holding that lead for the moment, with Dane Oliver bouncing over the curbs, coming into that chicane. And they're not pulling massively away from David Robson. The gap's still steady at 4.3 for the moment. But there's another quite close battle on track between Alistair Dendy and John Walker in 10th and 11th places. They're 2/10 away from each other. So here we go. This is a great battle to watch. We see, Alistair Dendy throwing. Oh dear, what was that? So Alistair Dendy, that was massive defence from Alistair Dendy there, and John Walker unfortunately got taken out by that. So we might have to have a race director's look at that just to see if there's any penalties being due there, but I definitely think that was a bit of a forceful defensive move onto the grass, make sure he doesn't get past by literally forcing him off the track. So as we see the battle now with Dane Oliver now taking the first place back again from Darren Kirk, so this battle really means war for these two, and there's definitely some pride involved here. As you see Darren Kirk now going to the inside again, they're not really defending from each other too much, they're just trading places, and Darren Kirk now moves into first position. And it's a very calm battle, these two. They're just taking their time. You can see Darren's nice and relaxed, got one earphone off. Just making sure that he's not completely submerged in the whole race. But he's only got 5.6 litres of fuel left, so he'll be coming in for his pit stop very, very shortly, as we're on lap 17. So we're expecting these cars around lap 20 or so. Well, yeah, I mean, you don't really want to go below. I mean, I don't know how much litres they use a lap here, possibly around 1.5? Is it close to 1? Okay, so 1 litre a lap, possibly. So these guys could potentially, if they're drafting each other, stretch their fuel out a tiny bit longer, maybe a lap longer, and that will help them out massively against the other pack, as we might see some people from the midfield being very smart and strategic. Dane Oliver gets a massive tank slap coming out of turn 1, so nearly lost it there, and laid a big black line on the exit of the circuit going through there, so lucky to recover from that, but that really won't help his tyre life, which will be continuously coming down for everybody, it seems. So Dave Robson actually took some time out of the top two on the last few laps, so he's come down to 3.8 seconds, and he's looking maybe to start putting on his really strong race face. Actually, it comes down against 3.5, so it's David Robson. We might see a strange turn of pace from him, and really starting to push on to catch these two front runners. You see Luke Austin still in fourth place, John Curry still in fifth, with Morgan Murphy still in sixth position, and subsequently Colin Talbot still in seventh position. So the mid-pack still lining out quite nicely. You see Ian Redmond running a tad wide there behind Colin Talbot in 8th place, so best lap time 1:14.4, so only half a second off the fastest lap from Darren Kirk so far, so by no means slow. And you see, getting on that curb again, that curb is an absolute nightmare for the drivers, it seems. You get on there and the car just seems to skate and can't get any of its wheels down onto the ground, and costs you a heap of time, because otherwise he could have been right in the back of Colin Talbot there, challenging for 7th place, so Ian Redmond will have to side himself up and go for that again, even though he'll get a great run as long as he keeps it nice and clean through here. Both drivers running quite a bit wide going out of that first corner, but getting away with it, and we'll definitely see Ian close onto the back of Colin thanks to the tow coming up this uphill coming into the bus stop chicane. So we're definitely expecting some cars in the pits very, very soon, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Still under 0.2 of a second, and yeah, he is. So really fifth position is a very, very important place here, because that will be the final qualifying position for And Will Murphy's just put in the fast lap as well. You see, is that Alistair Denley, I think, has come into the pit lane. So he's coming from, I think, his spin earlier that put him in 12th or 13th position. So he's taking the gamble, first to blink in this race. So to see Will Murphy just going slightly wide onto that curb again, which we spoke about earlier. So Will Murphy definitely taking the charge. We see another car in, that's Luke Austin. Luke Austin was in fourth place, I believe. So yeah, so we see Luke Austin coming in. Also, Colin Talbot's coming into the pit lane. So these guys are going to be fueling up. Now, is Alistair Denley taking tyres? I think he might be. He's been there for quite a while now. So yeah, if he gets jacked up, we'll see the cars. They will be taking tyres. So we see Colin stopping in his box, as does Luke Austin likewise. So Luke Austin is definitely taking tyres there. I think Alistair Denley only took fuel in there. So it might seem that he can make that tyre last to the end, but we see Will Murphy now right on the back of fourth position, John Curry, battling. Will Murphy's suddenly found a massive turn of pace, and last lap time of 1:14.3, so that is mega quick from him. Colin Talbot goes out now, and he's kept on the same tyre, so he thinks he can go to the end, but crucially that is Luke Austin still in the pit lane, changing all 4 tyres it seems. So yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see how Luke Austin can fight back after this. He'll be losing quite a lot of time, as we see. He gets lapped by the leaders now, in fact, who haven't yet pitted. So I think we'll expect the leaders coming next time around to be pitting, as we see more cars coming into the pits. Will Murphy's coming, along with Andrew Fellows just behind him, I think. Oh no, that's Ian Redman, in fact. So Ian Redman and my apologies, John Curry actually, who comes into the pits just behind him. So we'll see these guys now, see if they take tyres. So there we go, Luke Austin just pulls away. That was a lengthy pit stop from Luke Austin, and he'll have 4 new tyres on that car now, so he'll be going very, very quickly, but still, it's a setback for him. And we'll see if it's a good call by the end of this race. More cars coming into the pits now, so we've got Luke Austin actually still in the pit lane, it says here, and Alistair Dendy. Why has Alistair Dendy come back into the pits? Oh, he might have a stop go for speeding in the pit lane, in fact, or is he... Oh, he's retired, so that's a shame. Alistair Dendy is retired from this race, unfortunately, but he's pulled it right off to the side of the pit lane, and will not be continuing in this race, unfortunately. But let's see if the leaders come in now. So, no, the leaders go around for another time. I'm quite surprised by that, as we see another car leaving the pits. That's John Walker, I believe, just leaving the pits there. So that'll be interesting to see where he comes out. We've still got Will Murphy and John Curry in the pit lane, who were running quite highly in 4th and 5th positions. So Will Murphy comes out of the pits. I don't think he took tyres there, but John Curry's taken a very lengthy stop, so he's either taking a lot more fuel. But we see David Robson now coming to the pits from 3rd place, so let's see if David takes any tyres. I don't think he is. He's just taking fuel because the car's not being raised up. So I can't believe these leaders haven't actually pitted yet. They've done a mega job at making sure that they extend their fuel. So let's see what Darren's on, 1.5. So he could possibly even do one more lap on this, I think. But it's going to be very close. I'm expecting him in at the end of this lap, as he's got the spanner up at the top of the left-hand corner. Yeah, look at him. In fact, he's actually setting the fuel now as he's going round, with Dane Oliver close behind him. So he's setting the fuel. He's going to put... How many litres is he going to put in? He's put 17 litres on there. That is a lot. I don't understand why he's doing so much. Yes, that might be about right. So let's see if Darren comes in now. He's definitely coming in. Yep. So Darren comes into the pit lane, slows down to 50 miles an hour just before this, and just on it. Wow, look at that. So Darren's going over 50 miles an hour as well. So he may even get a drive-through for that. But he definitely went over 51 miles an hour there. So as we see one other car, I think that's Andrew Fellows, who's parked adjacent. Oh no, we've had a crash in the pit lane. So 2 cars. I think that was I don't know who that was, in fact. So 2 cars just colliding in the pit lane there. That's unfortunate. Colin Talbot has moved up into 3rd place thanks to all of this. So has Colin actually been into the pits yet? Yes, he has. So we saw him in one of the first cars to come in. Everybody's kind of pitted in, so we're a bit confused as to where everybody is. Yoshi Tanaka, in fact, still hasn't pitted, so he's in 5th position on his debut USSC round, so that's great from him. You see the two leaders still in the pit lane, but Darren now moves away, and Is Dane going to move? No, Dane's taking a long time in the pit lane, so Darren Kirk's got away scot-free here, but one person who is going to capitalise is Colin Talbot here. Is going to actually come into second place. He might even beat Darren Kirk out of the pit lane. Let's have a look. No, he doesn't, but he's not far behind him at all. So Colin Talbot has done a great job at the moment. Dane's just come out of the pit lane, and he's done a great job. Okay, so we're just getting some news from Nathan Burton. In fact, they think that Colin Talbot may have actually accidentally short-fueled his car, so we might have to see Colin come in again at the end of the race. But he's in second place at the moment, so getting some great airtime. And also we've got...
Darren's got a stop-go penalty for pit lane speed.
Speeding, as we said, because it was 51 miles an hour is in the pit lane, as we said when we were on board of him. So I think we should definitely give him a penalty for that, because it is 51 miles an hour. I mean, he did go over. These cars, most importantly, do not have a pit lane speed limiter, so it's down to the driver. Unlike the GTE and GTE cars and GT3 cars, they do not have pit lane speed limiters, so it's extremely tricky for the drivers to be right on the limit, and it's not really worth taking the risk and obviously ruining your race. So we could actually see Colin Talbot move into the lead of this race, which you'll be absolutely thrilled with after having a good start, but then getting knocked out by a few other drivers. We see Ian Redmond. These are the two cars that had contact in the pit lane with, and that was actually fourth position. So Chris Wilson and Ian Redmond just colliding there in the pits, and now they're back out on track. So Chris Wilson, a good showing from him in seventh position at the moment. Ian Redmond getting on that curve. Oh, I hate that curve. We need to get rid of that curve, because it's the cars seem to balance on it. It's in the triangle kind of shape. It does make it very interesting. It doesn't seem to make the cars slide, but it's definitely annoying for the drivers. We see John Walker now in the pits. Oh no, in fact it's Yoshi Tanaka in the pits now. So he was in a strong fifth position. He's now moving down thanks to being in the pit lane. But good to see him joining the championship, and definitely we'll see him get stronger throughout his time here at Simply Race. And it's great to see newcomers coming into the championship, and sometimes even really surprising some of the regulars here. So especially in the touring car championships over the time we've seen with the SRES, USSC, SRTCC, we've seen some great drivers come in and absolutely smash some of the top drivers here. So it's great to see, and great to make some new friends coming down here to Simply Race in Milton Keynes. So as the race continues on, so Darren Kirk, he will know that he's had that drive-through penalty now, so he's going to be pushing like crazy to extend that gap over Colin Talbot and Dane Oliver. And so the pit lane speed limit is actually being reviewed at the moment to see if he actually does get a penalty for that. I still do think he should, because he'll make the race more interesting, but also he did exceed the pit lane speed limit. I mean, everybody else seemed to be okay, but we're going to hear from DJ now.
He did go to 51 miles an hour on 3 separate occasions in the pit lane. One of them was for a very long time as well. Yeah, I'll stand with it.
There we go. So Darren Kirk has a penalty. That's absolutely fantastic for Colin Talbot, and everybody's. Provided Colin can get to the finish, so we might see the top two cars here dropping out. So Dane Oliver, even though he looks in a bad place at the moment, 8 seconds behind Colin Talbot, might actually come through to win this race, with David Robson potentially in second place. So it's going to be very interesting. Jack Ashton's watching over, as was Shamak Glodek. Hello, Shami. You're right. And they're watching this race play as well. As we there. Its camera is. I can't even see it. It's somewhere up. Anyway, it's there. There. Hello. So see Ian Redmond and Chris Wilson still battling that position out for 6th place. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens now with Darren Kirk and Colin Talbot. But Callum, we can hear that Darren's actually protesting it in the car. But I definitely think that. So he did exceed the speed limit. Right. Okay. So Darren Kirk, exactly. The tolerance is 50 mile an hour. He went on 51 mile an hour on 3 separate occasions. So therefore, should he get a penalty? Yeah, exactly. So everybody has exactly the same rules, and if no one else did it and he got away with it, then I definitely think that he should, get a. It's not a stop go; it's a drive through, so it should be all right. But it's a drive through. It depends on the discretion of the computer, but It's definitely, for a small one, it's a drive-through. For if you go ridiculous, like 80 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour, whatever, it's a stop-go penalty. 10-second stop-go. So Will Muffin's got, we're hearing that Will Murphy, in fact, we always call him Muffin, has got a stop-go penalty for, is that speeding in the pit lane? He doesn't even know himself, so we'll have to find out why he's got a, the stop, Darren's got a stop-go. Oh. So Darren Kirk, it turns out actually Darren Kirk's got a stop-go. So I think maybe if you go over a few miles an hour once, it's a drive-through, because I got a drive-through in practice earlier. But if it's 3 separate occasions, stop-go. So definitely Darren Kirk. Darren's gonna hate DJ after this. Yeah, Darren Kirk's not going to be very happy with the race director afterwards. I suppose you buy him a beer or something afterwards. But Darren Kirk, now he is shaking his head, and look at his front left as well. He's got a really bad front left. He just missed another spinning car there. I think that was Luke Austin spinning out, something like that. But Darren Kirk is in. So don't speed again, Darren. Just keep it 58. Oh! So he just misses out on it this time. But it is actually quite difficult to maintain a good speed here, because the car, he's not very happy at all. He's waving his hands. DJ, you've got a lot of explaining to do after this. But it is a stop go. So it's 10 seconds. He's going to have to stop there. It's going to feel like an eternity. Look at him. Is he? No, he isn't. But see, he's waving his hands furiously. He's not happy about that. But go. So let's see where he comes out now. So we've got Colin Talbot now in the lead with Dane Oliver in second place. Dave Robertson in third. He's going to come out in around fourth place, I think. Here he is. So Will Murphy is just going to come out just behind. He just comes out in front of Will Murphy, in fact. So as we see Chris Wilson and Ian Redmond battling it out slightly further back. So Colin has done an absolutely flying job. However, has Colin got enough fuel to the end? I don't think he has, as it turns out. But Ian Redmond and Chris Wilson are having a right battle here, coming through the first complex of corners. And great showing from these two so far. They've been battling out for quite some time now. And we see Chris Wilson getting the toe off Ian Redmond, going straight to the inside of the circuit. He's going to try and defend coming into this bus stop chicane. Can Chris Wilson go all around the outside? No, just about. And Ian Redmond holds that position for the meantime as they hit the curbs coming through that bus stop chicane and then flying out and maintaining about 100 mile an hour through this corner. It's a really, really long right-hander. And you've got to be so patient on the throttle, drifting out wide in Redmond. So remember your track limits. But still, the gap is definitely coming down from Dane Oliver to Colin Talbot to 1.7 seconds so far. It will come down a bit more at the end of this lap, I imagine. So we might even see Dane Oliver making a move for the race lead. But so it seems someone's just spun coming out of, what's that, top of the hill? And is that turn 1? Let's see. Oh no, it's the last corner. Okay, so I think we saw a car just go off then and on another screen, but you can see that we can see the tyre marks, but we just don't really know who. Here we go. So I think is this Alistair? No, it isn't. I don't think this is it, but this is still a replay of someone. But Chris Wilson has actually got past Ian Redmond somewhere on the circuit, so we've unfortunately missed that. But so Chris Wilson moves into 6th position ahead of Ian Redmond. John Curry, who was running strongly early, is in 8th position, still a good position. So Dane is now right on Colin, and within half a second at least, probably a few tenths now. Colin goes slightly wide through there. Dane's going to get a great run. He's going to try and maybe get the undercut. Oh, Colin just chops across and actually hits him. Oh, so Colin Talbot. What? So Colin's coming into the pits because he hasn't enough fuel to get to the end, we presume. So Colin, unfortunately, after leading for a bit of the race, he'll be happy that he led, but he will be starting to lose position. David Robertson goes past him for 2nd place. So we're going to see Dane Oliver most definitely almost win this race as long as he can keep it on the island for the next 7.5 minutes. So Colin will stop in his box, probably spend seconds there, probably a few seconds before he gets going again. So Will Muffin is now Will Murphy has actually got a stop-go penalty to take, so he needs to serve it really, so which could potentially move Colin Talbot back up again, but he does need to serve that penalty. I don't know what it's for, but he will need to serve it. So possibly track limits, I imagine, or something along those lines, or possibly speeding the pit lane. So we'll have to find out what that is and get back to you. But so let's see if Darren Kirk now can close the gap to David Robson. He was quicker earlier, but I don't think that fast. So Colin just got a drive through as well for, I believe, speeding in the pit lane. So Colin's race has just gone from, well, going pretty well to absolutely terrible. So unfortunately for Colin, he won't. I don't think he'll be progressing into the final race that we'll have this evening. But that's certainly one to stay tuned for. That's going to be an absolute belter as long as the racing stays the same as what we've had so far this meeting. So Dane Oliver leads 5.2 seconds ahead of Dave Robson, and then Darren Kirk, who's recovering from his drive-through penalty after doing 3 subsequent 51 mile an hour in the pit lane. And that's cost him his chance of the victory, an easy victory it would have seemed here. But as we see, Will Murphy now making his penalty stop. Ian Redmond now into 5th position. So Chris Wilson and Ian Redmond out of all this really, because they've stayed out of trouble. They've just been battling each other, not really causing any problems. They've moved up into 4th and 5th position. So great showing from these two, and keeping it nice, consistent and clean, which is exactly what you need to do in this championship. It is quite a long race. It's not a 15-minute sprint, go like mad kind of thing. It's a 45-minute race, and you have got to be quite strategic on how you do it. But these two are definitely doing it right. And actually, Ian Redmond going for the move on Chris Wilson here for 4th place, and he's got it. So Ian Redmond moves into 4th position after having a bit of an off-track excursion earlier on in the meeting. Now moves up into 4th position. So a great race from him so far, and good to pick himself up like that and just keep on going and keeping the momentum rolling. So let's see, he's 12.5 seconds back on Darren Kirk, who's one of the fastest drivers on circuit. So I don't think he'll be achieving another place, but as long as these two keep in the top 5, they'll be safely through to the final race of the evening when we get to that, and that's going to be a fantastic show to watch. So as we see, the track is properly rubbered in now, and we can see actually the degradation on Chris Wilson's front left tyre compared to his right left, and there's definitely a lot of wear on there. So we're going to see lap times not as quick as they were. You can see the last lap time, in fact, to 1:16.3. So you can see how much they're struggling on these set of tyres just to get the cars round. So definitely there's going to be a lot of degradation on the front left tyre. We might even see cars falling off the cliff in the next 3 or 4 minutes before the end of this race. It's definitely gone very quickly for us, and it's been a great race so far. So let's see if these two can hang on in there until the end. And Chris Wilson, I don't think he's going to start gapping. I don't think Ian Redmond's going to start gapping Chris Wilson, that's for sure. I think these two are definitely going to keep battling each other and piling on the pressure. We can see Chris Wilson struggling with that tyre degradation, going through these couple of corners here. You can see how much lock he's having to put on, more than what he did earlier on in this race. All these drivers must be struggling like absolutely mad just to keep the cars on the road. You can see Ian Redmond running wide there coming out of that corner. He seems to prefer that line, but even though it's a few metres off the racetrack, we've kind of laid back a bit on track limits as it doesn't really gain too much.
Real life Watkins, Glen, especially in the NASCAR, there you go, fully really wide, so be a bit harsh to...
Also, it just saves us a bit of work having to do so many track limit penalties. So, yeah, this race is going pretty well at the moment, Ben, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. There's been very few incidents. I think the race has been quite fair generally. A couple of incidents, some of which went wide there, I think. Was it Colin? I think Colin's had his penalty removed, so actually he's still in this race if he can get on the back of Chris Wilson here, he's still got the chance of getting into the A race. Top 5 will go through into the grand final this evening. So this is the B race. So the guys are slower in the pre-qualifying session. So we really should see a very close race in the next one. I really enjoyed the first few laps of this one. I thought it was quite impressive how everyone managed to keep themselves out of danger. Was that a bit wide? Oh, was it? Okay.
We'll try and have a look at that, but it seemed to rejoin absolutely fine. It might have been John Walker actually who just took a bit of an off-track excursion there in the green car just ahead of Colin Talbot in the back of shot. So we might be able to get a replay of that, but if not, there should be no worry. So you see Colin Talbot lapping pretty well. So he's had his penalty removed as Colin was only once at 1 mile an hour over his pit lane after trying to be very smartly strategic and he is. It's Colin. Actually, oh no, he's got a bit of contact with another car, but to get out of the way. Oh. So that other car, I don't know why he was so close to the back of him there, really, but it's unfortunately that car has gone off circuit. I'm not sure who that was actually. It might have been Andrew Fellows. possibly. No, I don't want to say that it was either, but either way, we've still got. We're going to be very close to the end now. We've only got 1 minute 30 left, so this race has gone very, very quickly. And we see Colin Talbot now just with John. Is that John Curry who's just behind him as well? Yeah, behind. So actually, he's pushing hard, but he's got John Curry who's very, very close behind him, trying to take that 6th place away from him. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how these two pan out in the last few laps. We've nearly got 1 minute left, so Dane Oliver is definitely in control of this race, with David Robertson definitely a strong showing from him after Darren Kirk's excursion. He really would have been third, but you can see how much Colin's struggling on that left front tyre now. Everybody must be just praying for this race to end, as we're in the last minute now, so we'll be in the last few minutes of this race, and definitely we'll be on almost the last lap now. As soon as the leaders come around again, we can see Colin running wide there, but he's got John Curry very close up behind him. And it seemed that the people that took tyres, it didn't really work out for them. Luke Austin definitely took tyres, but he seems to be down in 10th place and 12 seconds behind Andrew Fellows. We see Dane, I think we're going to get one more lap as Dane Oliver's coming through the last set of corners now with 30 seconds to go. So we'll have one more lap of this race before Dane Oliver is crowned winner of race number 1 of this evening. We'll see Colin Talbot and John Curry right with each other now. So John Curry is looking very aggressive in Colin. Let's see how good Colin's racecraft is. We've been teaching him for way over a year now. And Colin's really, really nice chap, so you can meet a nicer bloke. But come racer, he's always tried his best to improve his racing skills, learning off other people. So he's definitely showed his technique in this last few races, and trying his hand with putting less fuel in the car. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him, but still gets 6th position after under-fueling the car, having to do a second stop. It's really impressive from Colin. So really, ideally, we should have seen him in 4th position or so, which would have been put him safely into the final race of this evening. But still, he's battling on for one more lap to see if he can hold it off from John Curry, who's driving very, very fast at the moment, trying to get past Colin, pick up some more points for the championship. But Dane Oliver will be coming through soon to complete the last lap, so we'll try and get on board with him now. But he's got a gap of 8 seconds to David Robertson, so great show from Dane Oliver. And in fact, no, he isn't coming across the line yet, but he'll be coming across the line soon. We've got another slow car in the background, but Dane Oliver comes through and he's going to win race number 1 of this evening. Dane Oliver crosses the line, and fantastic drive from him. His last lap was 1:15 as well, so that's pretty impressive, having not taken tyres. So everybody's tyres did actually last as well. So that's very, very impressive to see everybody crossing the line. Dave Robertson in 2nd place, with Darren Kirk just crossing the line in 3rd. He should have really won that race, but Darren, unfortunately, speeding in the pit lane cost him that race win. So well done from him. We're seeing this last battle, and John Curry's going to send it up the inside of Colin Talbot into this last corner, and he's going to get it. So John Curry moves up into 6th position, and poor old Colin just loses that one on the last corner. But still, I think he'll be secretly surprised with that. I don't think he did too bad a job at all. So everybody comes through. So Dane Oliver in 1st position, David Robertson in 2nd, Darren Kirk in 3rd place, Ian Redman and Chris Wilson. A great showing from them two in 4th and 5th. Well done to them. John Curry in 6th, just snatching that from Colin Talbot, 7th on the line. Will Murphy in 8th after having that. I think he had a drive through, didn't he? Had to take stop go, in fact. So that's why Will's so far down, because we've seen how strong Will is. But Andrew Fellows in 9th place, Luke Austin in 10th, Yoshi Tanaka in 11th. Good showing from him, and then John Walker. I think he retired close to the end of the race in 12th position, and Alistair Dendy pitting around the first set of times. But yeah, that was race 1 from Watkins. Glen, we'll be back soon for the second race of this evening. Okay, and welcome back to the race number 2 of this evening's United States Sprint Cup Championship, live from Watkins, Glen at Simply Race here in Milton Keynes. And all the cars are just about to get going. We're watching Paul Day at the moment. We'll try and switch to another car that's actually moving, hopefully. But all the cars will start heading out and doing one flying lap to determine their grid position for the next 45-minute race. So they'll do an out lap, one flyer, and then as soon as everybody's finished on their laps, we will get rolling. Paul Day pulls out of his pit box and begins his out lap. So he'll be warming up the tyres, warming up the brakes, exactly the same as we had in the B race just a few minutes ago, and that was an absolute stormer. So this one hopefully will be, if not even better. So different drivers in this one. So as we see Paul Day having a massive slide, just collects the barrier there. So that's not the best way to start your warm-up lap, but should be okay. So you see Mark Woodward in the very cool looking 130 racing car, and you also that's livery's also familiar in the SRES Championship, this Simply Race Endurance Championship that we run here every few months. The next round is at Spa in a few months' time. Well, actually, just in under a month's time. So that'll be a fun one to watch as well. You better tune in for that. But all the cars are now starting to make their first flying lap. And this one we've got David Robertson, who was in the last meeting as well. So we have got David Robson and Paul Day, Dave Hedges, Steve Boyce, Chris Hardwick, Dan Ryan, Mark Winwood, Michael Balding. Good to see him back in the championship. Matt Goodger-Scott, the 7-foot giant that is Matt. He'll be looking to make up places in this race, if not to be up front a bit. Nathan Burton looking for a strong position from him after having quite a few tests. We're on board with Jack Ashton. He'll be one of the first to complete the times. Jack Ashton was quickest through sector 1. And we've also got Darren Kirk and Dane Oliver who are in this race as well. So this is going to be very interesting to see how these guys get on. So Jack Ashton is coming across the line to set his lap time, and he comes through 114.5. Very quick lap from Jack Ashton. About a tenth quicker than what I think it was Dane Oliver achieved. So still we could see Dane Oliver creep up here and put another time in. So Mark Winwood goes second with a 115.1 it was seen, followed by Chris Hardwick, only 2.5 tenths off Jack Ashton's time. But I definitely think that as times come through now, everybody's starting to come through. Jack Ashton will be on pole. Dave Hedges moves up just under over half a tenth of a second. So Dave Hedges out of nowhere gets into second place. So massive well done from him. And then 2 tenths back is Chris Hardwick, Paul Day in 4th place, Michael Balding in 5th, Matt Goodger-Scott in 6th. Steve Boyce, a good showing from him in 7th. David Robertson in 8th, our 2nd place man from race 1. Mark Winwood in 9th place. Dane Oliver in 10th. We're going to have to see a better showing from Dane after that qualifying. He won the last race, so it's going to be good to see him moving up the field. In Redmond in 11th, Nathan Burton in 12th. We'll be expecting him to be in the mid-pack somewhere. He'll be looking for some battles with the other drivers. We've got Dan Ryan in 13th, Darren Kirk in 14th place, so another one started from back just like last time. Darren Kirk and then Chris Wilson rounding out the full grid. So we'll be back very, very shortly with the final race of this evening, and this one's going to be an absolute cracker, so we're very much looking forward to it.
Attention, Glen, we're all nine.
Okay, so welcome back to the final race of this evening for the USSC Simply Race Championship. Live from Milton Keynes, we've got some fantastic drivers going to be starting this race, and it's going to be a mega race once it gets going. So the cars will follow the safety car around. It'll be a rolling start coming down into turn one, and hopefully everybody will get through nice and cleanly. So we've got Jack Ashton on pole position, a great lap from him. Dave Hedges, also a fantastic lap, just qualified just over half a tenth of a second behind Jack. So Chris Hardwick is in third place with Paul Day in fourth, who we're watching on our screen now in that green car. Michael Balding in fifth place, Matt Scott in sixth, Steve Boyce in seventh, David Robertson in the 130 racing car in eighth, with Mark Winwood also in the 130 racing car in ninth place. Dane Oliver, our race winner from the B race that we had shortly time ago, in 10th place. Ian Redman in 11th, Nathan Burton in 12th place. We'll look to see if he can make any places and score some points into this race. Dan Ryan in 13th, Darren Kirk in 14th, still in the pit lane possibly, after having some troubles with his computer, so I think hopefully we'll get him underway. And Chris Wilson in 15th. So as the cars make their way following the Corvette safety car around, so they'll be warming up the brakes and tyres ready for the start of this race. And it's going to be very interesting to see who gets a good start. Chris Hardwick's one to look out for, very quick racer, and a bit of a veteran here at Simply Race now, with all the 130 racing crew making a strong team that's definitely going to win the team's championship in this series, as it looks to be at the moment, as long as things stay the way they are, before we go into the final round in a month's time. And we've got a static view coming into turn one, so we can see where everybody is and if there's any off-track excursions from anybody further back. But we're going to get ready for this race now. So Jack Ashton on the pole. Let's see if he can keep that into turn one with Dave Hedges, who's going to be very aggressive, I presume, coming into turn one to try and snatch that lead away and break away from the rest of the pack. So Chris Hardwick, we're on board with Paul Dave, who will be alongside him in the green machine, as they'll all now wait for the green lights to come on and then go out again to start this race. So we wait for the lights to go out, and we are racing here at Watkins again for the final race of this evening. Jack Ashton gets a very good start, as does Chris Hardwick on the left-hand side coming into turn one, but Dave Hedges holds that second place, and there's a lot of muddle further back as a few cars really run wide, but everybody seems to get through absolutely fine. So I know Matt Scott there in 10th place, we can just see at the back of the pack. He's going to make up some places, as well as Chris Hardwick moves into second place ahead of Dave Hedges. So Chris Hardwick moves ahead and try and latch onto the back of the toe of Jack Ashton as we go through down into the bus stop chicane. So let's see if there's any moves or dives made into here. So Jack Ashton starts to defend a tiny bit, but everybody seems to get through fine. I think there's a few drivers having a problem. Nathan Burton's gone down to 15th place, so he's had an off-track excursion somewhere, and also is David Robertson. So we'll have to see where those guys pan out over the course of this race. But Jack Ashton still leads from Chris Hardwick in second place and Dave Hedges in third. Very close at the top five here. You see, I think that's Dane Oliver trying to make up another position. He's had a good first lap, moving up into possibly just sixth position, but backing out of it. And Steve Boyce just ahead of him, so he's had a cracking first lap. And that was Dave Hedges going off the track there. So Dave Hedges has lost his second place. He's dropped all the way down to 10th. So that's a shame. He just caught the grass in the exit at the penultimate corner and spat himself out. So that's a real shame for him, as we see now Chris Hardwick and Michael Balding moving up to second, third place respectively. And a few cars running wide on the exit of turn one and then coming back onto it. So we'll see if everybody's all right. Mark Winwood in fourth place, so he's made a steady start. Dane Oliver, I think, will be the man on the move at the moment. He's starting in 10th place, already up 4 places in 6th position, so good on Dane, and he'll be making to pick up some more places here. He could probably pick up a few more, definitely, and he'll be possibly up into 3rd place. Mark Winwood is attacking Michael Balding for 3rd place, so everybody bouncing over them curbs. And Mark Winwood getting a slap of oversteer there, coming through that bus stop chicane, but getting away with it. And Chris Hardwick and Jack Ashton seem to be very close, a bit further up the road. We'll keep on this battle for the moment. See Dane Oliver around the outside of Paul Day, and everybody's fighting for the toe to try and get in that line of slipstream so they can keep onto the back of the other car. Steve Boyce just ahead of him. He goes slightly wide, and Dane takes a lovely line through that last corner, so try and dive up the inside possibly, or even just get the run onto the main straight. So Dane's very, very confident now after having that first race win. He knows exactly what to do, just repeat what he did in the first race. He should be walking this one. You see Chris Hardwick possibly making a move for the lead here on Jack Ashton, so going into turn 1, let's see if he got it. No, he didn't, he just backed out of it, but Jack Ashton holding that position for the moment. But really strong turn of pace from Chris Hardwick at the moment. See another car in the wall, that's Matt Goodger-Scott, I believe, who's just hit the wall and dropped down a few places down to 10th place, so that's a shame for him. I think he just clipped the grass on there, but we've got a train of cars now for third position, with Michael Balding at the head of this pack and Dane Oliver right on the inside trying to make a few places. I think he's going to actually take a lot more places and get a swipe from Steve Boyce coming into this corner. It's going to be very, very tight, and Dane Oliver actually, Chris Hardwick actually touches the oh no, it's that Mark Winwood actually. Yeah, it's Mark Winwood, my apologies. There's so many 130 racing cars hitting the big boulder on the inside of that curve. But that was amazing racing from those guys, keeping it nice and clean, just a slight bit of contact. But everybody got through okay. But Dane Oliver already up into 4th place. He's up 6 positions in the first few laps, so he's done an amazing job from 10th on the grid. So Dane Oliver will be enjoying himself so far, and he'll be chasing after Michael Balding. He's in 3rd position. He's doing a good job. So he's going to be really chasing down that car, and you see Jack Ashton just ahead, and Chris Hardwick in the lead of this race. So Dane Oliver right now actually in 3rd position, so he's taken the lead from, taken 3rd place in fact from Michael Balding. We'll see if we've got a few glitches, but everything's still okay up front. So Dane Oliver, man on the move, up 7 places into 3rd place in the first 3 laps. That is incredible. So we'll be expecting him to possibly catch onto the back as long as he can be faster than the 2 boys out front with a tow. So let's see how Dane attacks this course now, but he doesn't want to be too aggressive because he might burn that front left tyre out. And we saw cars not pitting in the first race, but let's see how we get on now that the track's more rubbered in this second race of the evening. So still Michael Balding in 4th place. See 2 cars up ahead squabbling side by side for position through that long left-hand corner. But that's Steve Boyce and Mark Winwood, and they've both got out unscathed, but that was really, really close by both of them. And good racing from Steve Boyce, keeping it nice and clean. But done a great job so far from everybody to try and keep it nice and clean. But Mark Winwood now looks to the inside of Steve Boyce, and they make contact. So Chris, that was such a shame from them, but he manages to recover. Oh no, he is. It's a bit more. Oh god, that was mega close. But save of the day from Mark Winwood to try and get that one back. But that was very, very close there. We see Jack Ashton still not leaving Chris Hardwick alone. He's still piling the pressure on. Michael Balding now and Steve Boyce has a bit of a gap down there thanks to a bit of contact from Dave Hedges and Matt Goodger-Scott earlier on, with Mark Winwood now dropping back down into 10th place as well. So we've got Paul Day now on the back of Dan Ryan battling for 6th position. There's going to be a move made here, I'm sure of it, as we've got Matt Goodger-Scott now as well behind us, on board with Jack Ashton on the right hand side, but we keep on this battle for 6th place. Paul Day and Steve Boyce. In fact, that's very close between Paul Day and Dan Ryan, in fact, my apologies there. As we see a full-on board of Jack Ashton just following Chris Hardwick for the moment. We're back on board with this battle with Paul Day and Dan Ryan. As they go back down the back straight now, we've got Matt Goodger-Scott in the Cam Sport car, very close behind, with Dave Hedges, who was in 2nd place in the first few laps. So we got a shove from the back from Dan Ryan onto Paul Day, and that's led. Oh no, and he shoved Matt Goodger-Scott onto the grass as well. So they need to be careful. They don't want to give each other any penalties or anything like that. But definitely got to be careful. Matt Goodger-Scott, I think, is definitely going to make a move on Dave Hedges coming into this turn 1 now. So let's see if Matt can make this move stick. I think he might be able to. Oh no, actually Dave breaks a bit later and goes right round the outside. So good on Dave, and holding that position. And now they've got the recovering Mark Winwood in 9th place after having a bit of a calamity when he was, I think he was running in around 5th place when he had that slight contact which shoved him down to 10th. So that's good. But we see Chris Hardwick and Jack Ashton battling for the lead of this race at the moment. Jack taking so much curve, getting all 4 wheels in the air pretty much, going through that bus stop chicane. Now he's going to just be as smooth as possible, trying to guide them tyres through the next couple of corners and trying to save the tyres from and make the tyres last as long as possible for the end of this race, because they will degrade quite a lot over the 45 minutes of this race. We're still on board with Matt Goodger-Scott chasing down Dave Hedges. Ahead of him Dan Ryan and Paul Day, who are all battling for 5th position. And actually, Dave Hedges looks to make a move on Dan Ryan going into this corner. Doesn't seem to manage it, backs out of it, and will look to make a move when he's got a bit more momentum down on this next straight, perhaps. But everybody looking nice and smooth for the moment, using all the track available to them and a bit more. But Jack Ashton just being as smooth as possible, putting on quite a bit of lot, but not too much to damage the tyres. We see Matt Scott looking to make a move on Dave Hedges. Just about holds it off, but they've got Mark Winwood now, the recovering Mark Winwood, just behind them. And that was, I think, Dan Ryan going slightly wide coming out of that turn 1, so he might be under a bit of pressure from Dave Hedges coming out of this section. And Dave's got a good run, so we might see a move here for 6th place, but it's going to be very interesting as we see Jack Ashton and Chris Hardwick again side by side coming into that bus stop chicane. So I think they're just playing it nice and easy at the moment, and it's going to sort it out later on, just making sure the tyres and the fuel lasts a tiny bit longer. We saw the leaders go a lot longer in the last race, having them basically draft each other and save quite a bit of fuel, so they were able to pit about 2 laps later than everybody else, so to extend their lead. Unfortunately, Darren Kirk got his drive-through penalty, so that split them up a tiny bit, but now yeah, they're all doing a great job. Nathan Burton still in 15th place, I'm afraid, with David Robertson, who was second in the first race. So expecting a bit more from those guys. Obviously they caught up in incidents. Mark Winwood moves ahead of Matt Scott, who runs wide and nearly into the barrier. Oh, he actually just taps the barrier coming out there. That allows Darren Kirk to go through into 9th place, but still we're expecting a bit more from David Robson and Darren Kirk in this race. Mark Winwood doing a good recovery drive in 8th place at the moment, but he'll have to pick up a few more positions if he wants to keep that championship hopes alive. As we see Jack Ashton now right in the back of Mark Winwood, very, very close, touching in fact, going down the main straight. That was mega close as they hit 140 miles an hour before stamping on the brakes going into this bus stop chicane, taking a lot of curve, both of them. Look at that from Jack, absolutely sent it through them a couple of corners now, but still behind Chris Hardwick for the race leader, under half a tenth of a second, so that's really, really close from them. Dane Oliver in 3rd place, 3 seconds off, so he isn't really gaining too much time anymore after starting in 10th place, but doing a cracking job still. We're not even 10 minutes into this race, so there's been so much action, so we're going to keep going with this, and it's going to be a mega fight for the lead. Mark Winwood, I think we're going to see a lot from Mark picking off these next few cars in the next couple of laps, so we've got Dave Hedges ahead of him, and Dave Hedges is no slouch. He'll be fighting to keep his position, and right ahead of him is Dan Ryan and Paul Dace, and Dan and Ryan are quite good mates. So as we see, who's that coming into the pits now? That's Dave Hedges already coming into the pits. So I wonder, that is a very bold call. 10 minutes into the race and he's already pitting. So I don't know why, because his fuel won't be particularly low. Everybody starts on the same fuel and the same tyres. So I don't know why he's coming so early. He'll have to put quite a bit of fuel in to get to the end of this race. So a bold move from Dave Hedges. That moves him down into last place, but that gets him some clean air and be able to push slightly. We see Jack Ashton and Chris Hardwick again going side by side coming into this bus stop chicane, and who's going to give it best this time? Oh, just Jack. Actually no, Chris goes wide, has to skip the chicane, and Jack might go through into the lead. Yes, he does. Jack Ashton goes through into the lead of this race, for Chris Hardwick just sliding off onto the grass, getting onto the marbles and drifting wide, so that's allowed Jack Ashton to sneak through into 1st place. So Shamak Blodek, his Purple Helmet's teammate in the Metros Cup, will be happy with that. And do you want some? How are you enjoying the Famer Metro Cup?
It's brilliant.
Brilliant. So is that it? You're loving it. So yeah, it's very expensive. Welcome to motorsport. So as you see, we're back on board with Dan Ryan, chasing down in fact Paul Daisy. Oh, he hits the barrier massively and loses all that momentum. So we won't be passing him anytime soon after that. See Michael Balding and Matt Scott now battling away for 9th and 10th positions, so we might see Michael going to make a move here on Matt Scott down into turn 1. He thinks better of it and backs out of it, but still a good showing from him. He's showing a good turn of pace here, is Michael. And Chris Wilson, who had a brilliant 4th position in fact earlier on with Ian Redmond, so them two had a cracking battle for 4th and 5th place in the B race that we had earlier, so them two, they know what they're doing. They'll be looking to make positions up come the end of this race. We've still got Jack Ashton leading from Chris Hardwick, but look at the gap. It's only 200ths of a second in fact for them two, as we see Matt Scott and Michael Balding changing positions. Oh, they go side by side through the bus stop chicane. Oh, Michael Balding just drifts out wide, hits that grass, and will rejoin hopefully and don't hit any other cars, Michael. Oh, just in case, but loses 2 places, goes down to 12th position behind Ian Redmond and Chris Wilson after that. So unfortunate for Michael, but I'm sure he'll make them places up again. And now we see Chris Wilson on the back of Matt Gooch-Scott, so let's see if Chris can do anything about that. We see Jack Ashton's pulling a tiny bit of a gap on Chris Hardwick now. It's 0.3 of a second with Dane Oliver and 2.3 seconds behind, so he is catching Chris Hardwick at this rate, and we might even see Dane Oliver. I definitely think Dane Oliver's one to watch for the lead of this race come the pit stop phase. So after starting in 10th position, he had a mega few laps, and he'll be watching this one back later, so well done Dane for that, because that was a mega few laps that he did. We see Paul Day, a strong 5th position in that green machine, with Steve Boyce just in front of him. A good showing from Steve Boyce as well. He's always been quick around well, pretty much any car will put him in at Simply Race, as is Dan Ryan and Steve Boyce, Paul Day. They're all good mates, so they'll be looking to make the best out of this race and have a good race between themselves. And they'll have some bragging rights later on down the pub. So Jack Ashton still leads with about 4/10 gap to Chris Hardwick, who's now in 2nd place. And we can see that battle now. So this is one of the closest battles on track. In fact, we're back on board with Jack Ashton. You see Jack tends to lean his head into the corners. Watch this. So he leans in. He kind of does a jink and then leans into the corners. And I went karting with him and Lee Connell the other week there, and absolutely nailed them around the outside of turn 9 at Daytona Milton Keynes. But that was a great battle. And then we went for a good night to celebrate Lee Connell's birthday. So yeah, we can just see Jack just keeping a cool head at the moment with Chris Hardwick in his mirrors, very close in his mirrors behind. We might even see a move for the lead here from Chris Hardwick coming up the hill. He'll get a great tow off Jack, and you can already see Jack's front left tyre is on yellow, so he's struggling from where 15 minutes into this race. We've still got another 30 minutes to go, so it's going to be very interesting come the end of this race to see whose tyres last. But everybody obviously pitching very hard at the moment. See Jack just taking that first position. He likes that first curve, doesn't he? He likes to throw it up in the air a bit, so it seems to work for him. But this is the killer corner that we're seeing here. We can see how much temperature the tyres are under going into that corner. They seem to go up to a few hundred degrees, and that just absolutely kills the tread on the tyre. You can actually, when you're on board, you can actually see the tyres get really rough on the sidewall. And that's where all the grip's being lost. So it's a lot of right-hand turns here. We see Paul Day and Dan Ryan getting very, very close together, a bit too close for comfort. But Dan Ryan keeps ahead of Paul Day for the moment. And that was great. I think he moved around the outside there, so that was a great move from him. As we see Mark Winwood and Darren Kirk now together, the two 130 racing cars. They'll be working with each other, not against each other, to move up some more positions. And there's a bit of tap from the back there from Paul Day onto Dan Ryan, so that won't be very welcoming for Dan Ryan, who really wants to push on and try and pass Steve Boyce for 4th position. But these guys are doing a cracking job at the moment. And again, we see Chris Hardwick and Jack Ashton side by side now. Chris Hardwick's actually got the inside in and actually takes the lead coming into the bus stop chicane. So, he had a massive slide there. That was an amazing move by Chris Hardwick to get past him. He had a bit of a tank slapper coming into that back bus stop chicane, but that was an amazing move. So they did a great job to keep that place. So Chris Hardwick now moves ahead of Jack Ashton for 1st place, and Dane Oliver in 3rd. We see Jack Ashton on board with now the Purple Helmets driver, not only at Simply Race but in the MG Metro Cup, and doing a cracking job so far, just bouncing off the limiter in 3rd gear coming into that last corner. But it's all going to be about the pit stops coming into the last race. We see Chris Hardwick defending to the wall against Jack Ashton. We see a great tow from him coming down this into 1st corner. So they run a bit wide and come through to this fast section of corners now. So Jack runs a bit wide there. He could have used a tiny bit more tow off Chris Hardwick, but seems to get away with it. Dane Oliver still 2.3 seconds behind that group, so we might see him come the pit stop, move a tiny bit closer, but for now the gap is pretty static. But Jack Ashton getting a great tow now going into the outside. Is he going to try round the outside of Chris Hardwick? He gets the fastest all green 1st sector, so that shows how good of a run he got. But Paul Day and Dan Ryan, it seems, are still battling for position, and Dan Ryan moves ahead of Paul Day, and wow, that was a mega move. So well done to Dan Ryan moving ahead of Paul Day there. And we see also that's Mark Winwood just behind these few cars. He's looking to make positions up after having a bit of an accident earlier on, with Darren Kirk strong behind him as well. And Darren was a leading driver in the B race earlier on, so these two getting two races in one tonight. There's Mark Wynn was looking to make a move on Dan Ryan. Oh, they banged wheels, and I think Dan Ryan went really wide there. And yeah, Mark Wynn was able to make the move on Paul Day. My apologies, Paul Day. So Mark Wynn moves up into 6th position, and Paul Day in 8th place, not far back, and then Matt Good-Scott in 9th with Ian Redmond and Chris Wilson still battling away in 10th and 11th places. So everybody's slightly drifting wide, but Darren Kirk's actually moved ahead of Winwood now. Mark Winwood, my apologies. And Jack Ashton moving ahead of Chris Hardwick as well. So Jack's taken that lead back from Chris, and the gap is down from Dane Oliver to under 2 seconds now, so that's a good showing from him. So Steve Boyce still in a bit of a lonely 4th position now. He's after Dan Ryan and Darren Kirk have been battling away. It seemed that Steve Boyce has got a bit of a buffer now to everybody else, and we were looking to make his own race out of this and get to the pit stop phase and possibly make some positions up. We see Chris Hardwick now making a move for the lead, and Jack Ashton moves very deep into that last hand corner and takes the lead back from Jack Ashton. So that was a very impressive move there from Chris Hardwick. We've seen some mega moves from Chris Hardwick and Jack Ashton during this race. They're really enjoying racing each other, and everybody praising the drivability of these cars. Everybody seems to have a really nice sweet spot. They're able to push really hard with the cars. They seem to be quite light and really floaty, so even if you get an oversteer moment, you can catch it back, and they don't spit you out the other way unlike other Formula cars. So everybody really enjoying this new series, and we still see Chris Hardwick ahead of Jack Ashton. Dane Oliver is now only a second behind Jack Ashton after them two have been battling, so Dane Oliver is looking to take the lead of this race. He'll have his eyes firmly set on them 2 first places, and Ian Redmond now battling with Chris Wilson. These two have been stuck like glue all day together, and it's really impressive how to see these two coming into the championship and battling so hard against each other. It's always been hard and fair racing. We can see Ian Redmond actually pushing Chris Wilson down the straight. He just can't seem to get the toe working for him, and Chris Wilson stays ahead of Ian Redmond coming through to complete lap 15 as they come through this long right-hand corner, the absolute killer, the tyre killer it seems for this meeting. And we still see Mark Winwood and Darren Kirk working together as the 2 130 racing cars in the black and orange Batmobile machine of Darren Kirk and the very sleek and subtle blue, white and yellow Mark Winwood car. So we see another car coming. That's Paul Day coming into the pit, so he's first to blink in terms of pit stops. We did see another, and Dave Hedges and Michael Balding pitting earlier on, so let's see how they're doing. They're still 30 seconds off the rest of the pack, so you might see them actually creep up later on, and because they're in cleaner air and they're not fighting anybody. Everybody seems to be fighting in the mid-pack.
So they're going to protect the front left, by not having to fight quite so hard with everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. We see Jack Ashton now taking the lead back from Chris Hardwick again. My goodness me, this is an absolute corker of a battle from these two. And he just sweep around the outside of that bus stop chicane and into the lead of the race. So fantastic move from these two guys, and they're showing utmost respect for each other. They'll have a nice handshake at the end of this, as long as nothing comes really bad of this race. We still see Paul Day in the pit lane, so he came in from 8th position. He's now in 30th. He's in 40th in the back with Dave Hedges passing him, and Michael Balding now in 15th. So I don't know if eyes or something like that, but it seems Dave Hedges and Michael Balding both pitting early and both moved out. Yeah, he'll move a lap behind as we see the leaders come through now, and Paul Day's still in the pit lane, so I don't know why it's taking so long on the fuel. He might be changed. I don't think he changed tyres either, so that's a bit strange from Paul Day, but he moves out now and he's a lap behind the race leaders, who are still pounding round. It's a pretty good pace, as we see we're nearly halfway through this race. We see Darren Cook and Mark Winwood still stuck together, 130 racing cars, using each other in fact to close onto the back of Dan Ryan in 5th place, and then Steve Boyce just ahead of them in 4th. So it's a great battle. Mid to low pack battle has been absolutely brilliant so far, and closest battle still. In fact, we've got Dave Robson and Chris Wilson 1.1 seconds between each other. Mark Winwood and Darren Kirk, obviously, the battle we're watching right now, they're less than a tenth away from each other. So that's impressive, with Matt Good-Scott in a lonely 8th position at the moment, with Dave Robson likewise. Nathan Burton in 12th after having a not great qualifying. but still he's chasing down Ian Redmond for that 11th place, so we'll be looking to still pick up some points come the pit stop phase as well. We might see him pick up a few places. We see Ian Redmond running wide. He seems to like that line coming out of there, as we see Jack Ashton and Chris Hardwick now are back on the battle with them two. And they've put in some mega lap times. Jack Ashton, in fact, has put in a 1:13.8 as fastest lap of the race. So he's done a cracking job on that. It's a mega lap. So you see the tyres, realistically, if these guys put on new tyres now, we expect to see like 1 minute 12s come through. But because the tyre wear is so aggressive on this track, thanks to that long right-hand corner, in fact, we see Chris Hardwick going around the outside of Jack Ashton. That's a mega move. Again, these guys got to stop doing that. It's going to come to blows soon enough. But Chris Hardwick goes around the outside and into the lead of Jack Ashton. So that was an absolute mighty move. We're going to have some highlights to fill after this round. And going to be mega. And this is only a precursor of what's to come in the final race. The final round, in fact, in just over a month's time. So you better tune in for that. And that's going to be an absolute cracker. I think it's on the 3rd of September, I believe that one is. So if you're looking to compete in this championship, come along 3rd of September and have a go in these fantastic cars. We've got loads of places still to fill, and everybody really praising the drivability of these cars. So if you're a novice, if you're an actual racing driver sitting at home right now thinking, I want to have a go at some racing, come on down and have a go. Anybody can come down here and just sign up and drive along, drive in the championship, any championship, or even just come down here and have a practice. 20 minutes is, the prices are as little as £8, aren't they?
It's £8 off peak and then £10 at peak, so that's for evenings and weekends.
So it's a lot cheaper than actual racing. If you go down to Brands Hatch or anything like that, you'll be costing a fortune. Come down here instead, have a beer, have a chat with your mates, and have some sim racing. You see Jack Ashton, massive amount of curb and putting all 4 wheels off the track. It's a bit like Barber Motorsport Park with that massive jump that we've got going on there. But we see Steve Boyce is still in 4th position, quite lonely back there, and Paul Day didn't really work out for Paul Day, that pit stop. It's now 20 seconds off Michael Balding's time, so we'll have to find out at the end of this race why Paul Day was so far down on that pit stop and why it took so long to complete it. So we'll find out from that a bit later. Michael Balding, after his pit stop, is still waiting for people to make their pit stops. We're coming into we'll be very, very soon now. The guys will be on probably less than 5 litres of fuel. Actually, we might be able to get on board with Jack and just find out how many litres he's got. Well, he's hidden it with his tyre wear. He's more concerned about that, but you don't want to leave it too long, Jack. Otherwise, you might end up running out of fuel. But he's very calm and composed on the back of Chris Hardwick, as I think he's definitely going to make a move as he blips into 5th gear over 140 miles an hour. Chris really defends now as Jack's actually on the grass, 2 wheels on the grass. And coming down this section of track, wow, that was very close. He was good to counteract. And he's actually going to go for a lead as well. Whoa, that was very, very close from these two guys. They actually both won ride off the track, so that's going to dirty their tyres up a bit. So hopefully they'll get around the next few corners okay. Otherwise, Dane Oliver will be looking to have pickings of that race lead. After starting in 10th position, he's done a mega job. So you see Matt Gooch-Scott as well, and Dan Ryan fighting it out, who just ahead of just behind the 2 130 racing cars. I don't know if these guys are holding each other up or they're just going maximum attack at the moment, but we're expecting to see some cars in the pits very soon. I'm going to try and peek over and see if anybody's got their fuel showing. I'm just trying to see. I think I'm looking at Michael Baldwin's pod just to try and see how much fuel he's got. But he's already pitted. So I can't really see. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see as we see. I think that's Dan Ryan coming into the pits now. So Dan Ryan from 7th position, first to blink of the really low fuel runners. And we'll see where he comes out. I'm expecting him to come around about 13th position or so, just ahead of. We'll see now if this has really worked for Dave Hedges and Michael Balding. This is, at the moment, well, we've got a lot of cars going to come into the pits in the moment. So we've got Dan Ryan coming in, Dave Robertson coming in, and who else have we got? Just coming into the pits now. So we should have a few more. I think that's definitely Ian Redmond's come in, and there's a few more cars coming in as well. So. Ian Redmond comes into the pits. Chris Wilson's come into the pits as well. So Ian Redmond and Chris Wilson, too, both battling for the lead of 10th and 11th places, are now into the pit lane, and they'll be changing. Well, no one seems to be changing tyres. It's all just fuel for the moment. It seems after the first race, everybody's seen that they can manage their tyres to the end, and it is the quicker way of doing it. So, in fact, one car just leaving the pits there. And two race leaders come in at exactly the same time, so this is going to be very interesting now to see. Make sure they keep below 50 miles an hour, chaps, otherwise you don't want them penalties that ruined Darren Kirk's race in the other races that we had this evening. So everybody's into the pit lane now, so we're just going to say it's very interesting to see who comes out first. So Chris Hardwick now stops in his box. Let's keep an eye to see where Michael Balding and Dave Hedges come out. They could actually come out potentially in the lead here of this race. There's Dave Hedges. He's just coming around the back section of the circuit now, so he might actually get out ahead of these guys. So we'll have to see. This is going to be very interesting to see as we've got the top 6 cars into the pit lane. Matt Scott is yet to pit, so he'll be coming around soon, and we'll find out where he goes. But he's leading for the moment. So Matt's got his claim to fame of leading. So Chris Hardwick pulls out of his pit box, and Jack Ashton just behind him as well. So they must have put exactly the same fuel into. Dave Hedges is just going to come out in 3rd position, I believe. As, we see Mark Winwood now getting rolling again, and he's going to come out of the pit lane. So it has worked for them. So Dave Hedges is right behind Mark Winwood coming out of the pit lane. Let's see if he can snatch 4th place off Mark Winwood. No, he doesn't seem to. But Matt Scott still in the lead here. Chris Hardwick have just come out of the pits along with Jack Ashton, and Darren Kirk in 6th place has just come out as well. So tell you what, Dave Hedges. They've done really good. He's done a really good job there. Michael Balding as well in 8th positions. They've moved up a few places pitting early, but let's see if they can hang on to it until the end of this race and make sure they've put enough fuel in. We see another Camsport car, and that's Matt Scott from the lead of the race coming out. So that will hand the lead back to Jack Ashton and Chris Hardwick. And it's going to be very interesting. Chris Hardwick and Jack Ashton came out exactly the same time. They must have put exactly the same amount of fuel in. But it was absolutely textbook from them. So you can see how much time. Pretty much no time at all was lost or gained from them two, and they'll continue to fight until the end of this race. So we've got an exciting 15 minutes to go in this one. Chris Hardwick, you see right in the back of Jack Ashton. So Jack Ashton actually ahead of Chris Hardwick now, coming out of the pit lane behind him. So Jack Ashton actually overtook Chris Hardwick on that last lap. So I don't know if we can get a replay of that. We might be able to, we might not. But we've still got Michael Balding now, who pitted earlier on, and now he's right on the back of a 130 racing car of Darren Kirk and Dan Ryan. So these two are definitely battling. We've got Darren Kirk defending heavily from Dan Ryan, but he's going to go through into the 7th place. No, he isn't. So Darren Kirk just holds that position. We've got Michael Balding now right on the back of Dan Ryan. But we've got Chris Hardwick. He's got a stop-go penalty for doing 52 in the pit lane, so that's a real shame for him. So we're hearing from so DJ has called it, the race director has called it. So Chris Hardwick getting he's got a stop. Is it stop go or a drive through? I think it might be a stop go. It'd be a stop go, a 10-second stop go penalty for Chris Hardwick. That's very harsh for spinning the pit lane, and that's ruined our. We might be able to change it to a drive through. It's 52 mile an hour in the pit lane, and that's really ruined our race lead battle. But I think we're actually going to change it to just a drive-through, because it's a really harsh penalty just for one time going over 52 mile an hour in the pit lane. So the 130 Racing boys, even though they're pretty good, they got to practice their pit stops, and it won't really help them out in the SRAS, because they've got the GTE cars that we use have a pit lane speed limiter. So that always helps us out to ensure that we don't go over the speed limit and get a penalty. But that's really unfortunately ruined our lead battle, I'm afraid. But still, Jack Ashton leads from Chris Hardwick, who will be battling on until he has to take that penalty. Mark Winwood, a good show from him in 3rd place, with Matt Scott coming out in 4th place. So Matt, playing the late game and basically pitting a lot later than everybody else, has come out in 4th position. So great showing from Matt. And what happened to Dane Oliver? He slipped down to 9th place. So Dane Oliver, after having a really strong position, he started in 10th, moved away up to 3rd. He was 1 second off the leaders. Now moved down into 9th place. So that's a real shame for him. So behind Michael Balding, in fact, who we're watching now, who's then subsequently in front of, just behind, in fact, Dan Ryan. So these guys will be fighting till the end. You can see Darren Kirk there, just running slightly wide on the exit of turn 5. So Dane Oliver now will be looking to capitalise on this group who are battling and start making up places for the championship points as we move into the last round of the season next month. It's Jack Ashton still pulling a bit of a lead on Chris Hardwick now. We'll see a few battles further up the front and try and see who that is just making a move. I think that was Dave Hedges and Matt Scott there possibly making a move. Yeah, it is. They're all within 2/10 of each other, so we'll try and move up to that battle in a minute. But for now, we're concentrating on Michael Baldwin and doing a fine job. We see Darren Kirk and Dan Ryan getting very, very close. Dan Ryan right on the back of Darren Kirk coming into this bus stop chicane. So we'll have to watch as these two go by. We'll concentrate on Michael Baldwin now as we see coming back to the lead battle. We've got Chris Hardwick and Jack Ashton still very, very close to each other coming into the final complex corners now. But the battle we really want to see is Matt Gooch-Scott and Dave Hedges, who are very, very close to the back of Mark Winwood. Here we are, in fact. So we've got the battle for the last spot on the podium. Matt Gooch-Scott doing a fine job in the pit stop phase to move up into fourth position after being slightly further down in the mid-pack. So he might have enough fuel. The Cam Sport guys, unfortunately, Colin earlier didn't fuel the car up enough, but I think they'd have definitely learned from the mistake now. But Matt's done a mega job to get up into that fourth position so far. And very close behind Dave Hedges, strong boom from him. He accidentally went off into turn one, actually into turn two. At the start of this race, he was running in a strong second position. We could have seen him right up there, but I think he's fighting back now, going around the outside of Matt Gooch-Scott in this long right-hand corner, going up the hill, getting the draft off Mark Winwood to take that fourth place away. So Dave Hedges moved up into fourth. Great racing from Matt and Dave, in fact, so far. Well, in fact, from all these guys who come up now, Matt's going to actually attack Dave Hedges again as he gets to run nearly rubbing wheels. He's come through. Who's going to be last in late breaks? It's definitely Dave. And so they go through that, and Dave seems to get that place, so he'll be after Mark Winwood now to capitalise and possibly go on the last step of the podium as we've got 10 minutes to go in this race. Here it's Simply Race Milton Keynes, and what a fantastic race we've had. This has been an absolutely mega race. Both races have been absolutely superb this evening, so some great battles all around. Obviously, if you want to get involved, just come on down to Simply Race, ask about the championship. We do other championships, our endurance championships, and you can just get involved. You know, everybody loves a bit of sim racing, and everybody's a bit competitive. We've all got competitive nature in us, so come on down, be a virtual racing driver for your day, and have a bit of fun as well. So Jack Ashton still leads. Chris Hardwick, when is he going to take that penalty? We'll have to find out and see where he turns out. He might be able to, if he stretches the gap out far enough to Mark Winwood, keep that second position if it's just a drive-through penalty. I think drive-through is only going to cost about maybe 8 to 10 seconds maybe.
8 to 10. You've got to slow all the way down to 50, so on the main straight that's going to cost quite a bit.
So 10 seconds, but we should see Chris Hardwick out ahead of Mark Winwood, so even though he's losing pretty much 10 seconds, he'll still keep that podium position, I think. We see Dan Ryan and I think that's Darren Cook just ahead with Michael Baldwin behind, still battling away. Michael Baldwin's been an absolute trooper in this race, trying to get past people. He's done some great racing, and credit to all the drivers because they've done a fantastic job this evening. It's been fantastic to commentate on and watch. And I know Dane, I don't know what happened to Dane, we'll have to ask him later, but Dane's in a really strong third position. He does seem to lose quite a lot of time in the pits, I don't know why. But we'll have to find out later on. So maybe I think he might have had to take a drive for a penalty, perhaps, for speeding in the pit lane, possibly. So we didn't get to see it. So that's unfortunate for him. We've still got some great battles up front as well. I think the battle for fourth place is still raging. Yeah, it's actually battle for third. In fact, so Mark Winwood, Dave Hedges, Matt Gooch-Scott still fighting away for that third place. Dave Hedges, we saw earlier, getting past Matt Gooch-Scott with a fantastic move. So he's looking to now, Dave Hedges, I think he's going to get a bit of tail here off Mark Winwood coming down this back straight, and that's only going to play in the hands of Matt Gooch-Scott as well, who's slightly closer to Dave than Dave is to Mark. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this pans out now. As they come up to the bus stop chicane, chops a load of curb on the left-hand side, and then they're on the right, powering out 100 mile an hour, keeping your foot just hovering over the throttle, just feathering the throttle in. Never put your throttle on until you know you never have to take it off. And it's definitely a very, very hard corner. It's absolutely killing the left front, so you can see actually, if we have an onboard, we can see actually the tyres degrading, so we can see the graphics on the screen how good they are on R-Factor 2, and wait till the X11 comes on, that'll be even better still. And when we get it, and it will be up and running pretty soon, and the cars will absolutely just transform the Simply Race facility. So as we see Chris Hardwick, so he's actually dropped behind this group, so it's actually more than 10 seconds what we anticipate. It's more like 12 or 13 seconds where he's dropped behind this group. So, but I definitely think Chris Hardwick's quick enough to catch up to the back of this group. We're going to we see a great battle for the two final podium places. I think Jack Ashford's got this one licked, and Chris Hardwick's serving his penalty, coming back into 5th position, and Darren Kirk now defending from Dan Ryan and Michael Balding. So we've got some great battles going on here from 2nd to 6th, well 2nd to 5th, and then 6th to 8th. We've got some titanic battles going on. So Darren Kirk is defending from Dan Ryan, and then Michael Balding, who's rounding up this pack, and Dane Oliver not far behind this group either, so he's going to be looking to make a move. See Michael Balding going round the outside of Dan Ryan there, so Dan Ryan losing 2 places, going down into 8th place, and Darren Kirk moving through into 6th. So everybody doing a sterling job at the moment. We will try and get back that battle for 2nd place. It's looking absolutely fine at the moment. So if we can go slightly further up, we see someone, I don't know if that was a yawn or something like that, but someone was moaning about something back there. Look at this battle for the 2 final podium positions now. So we've got Mark Winwood just ahead of Dave Hedges and Matt Goodger-Scott. All these guys doing a fantastic job to keep pretty much within a car length of each other coming through these 6 corner corners. We've got Chris Hardwick pushing really hard behind them to try and get back those podium positions that he lost. He was pretty much, well, not guaranteed a race win, because Jack Ashton, I think, would have potentially got the race win at the end of this, as long as he keeps it on the road. But Chris Hardwick's done a stellar job. We've got some more people. Oh no, there's been a massive collision there, so Chris Hardwick gets taken out, and then he collects his teammate as well. So, oh my goodness gracious me, we've got absolute carnage now down the back straight. Dave Hedges moves into 3rd place, Matt Goodger's got in 2nd, but Chris Hardwick has moved up, and Mark Winwood just getting absolutely annihilated there, and he's moved down into 10th place. So what on earth happened there? We'll try and get a replay of that, but that was just absolute carnage. Just out of the corner of my eye, I was actually looking over my shoulder at the time that happened, but we still saw 2 130 racing cars absolutely collecting each other. So we're on board now. This is with, I think that was with, okay, so, no, I don't think it's the wrong one. We need to look a few cars ahead though. We might be able to see it from here. But I think, yeah, so Chris Hardwick, I think, and, no, it wasn't Chris Hardwick, it was Mark Winwood actually collecting, oh, look at that. So he just moved to the inside. That was completely unnecessary from the 130 racing car. Matt Goodger-Scott moved up into 2nd place, but that was really unnecessary. Dave Hedges just getting an absolute chop there into the barrier, and did he manage to keep it on the track? Yes, he did. So, but you see 2 130 racing cars coming together in a massive collision. We can see the black tyre marks, but that's really unfortunate. Dave Hedges and Matt Goodger-Scott actually still keeping them in position. So the one that actually came out worse from that was Mark Winwood. So as we see, oh my goodness gracious me, that was a massive. Sorry, that was we need to get a GIF on that and get it going with some shooting stars. That was an absolutely sensational move there. We see a bit of a aeroplane takeoff there as he hit the curb and just went absolutely flying. Everything's going up here. You see Darren Kirk and I think that was Dan Ryan now making contact. So everybody's done really well. Now everybody's hitting each other, and we see another piece of contact with Dan Ryan's Dane Oliver. Everybody seems to be linking wheels a bit too much in the last 4 minutes of this race. Everybody, please calm it down. As we're trying to focus on one bit of action at a time. But yeah, it's the last 4 minutes, so everybody's going a bit mental. And the last of the Red Bulls seeping out of their systems. It's well, should I say iPro? Should I say iPro? Yeah. Well, it's everyone on. So as we see cars coming up the hill, and Dane Oliver is looking to, well, basically everybody's starting to crash out ahead of Dane Oliver, and he's just going to be picking off places. So Dan Ryan doesn't really move to defend, and Dane Oliver's just going to take that place. He seems to just jink over to the left, but Dan Ryan, I think, is going to have to yield to Dane Oliver, who moves into that 6th position. So after being down in 9th position, he's recovered again, and we're seeing a good talent here from Dane Oliver. It's definitely a very, very quick driver. Darren Kirk, after having a really poor qualifying, up into 5th position with Chris Hardwick in 4th. So them two recovering from that spin from Chris Hardwick earlier, who forced Dave Hedges onto the grass, in fact. So that wasn't really fair from Chris. We'll have to maybe potentially investigate that later on. But, Matt Goodger-Scott has got 2 litres of fuel left to last him 3 minutes. Oh, he might might be able to do it. So if he's done it right, he might be able to just lift and coast. Because actually no, because he's got the gap at 1.5. He's got a few cars quite close behind him. So it's going to be very interesting to see if he can get to the end of this race. If Matt can keep that second podium position, he's done a fantastic drive so far to get into that position after having a bit of contact a few laps ago, where everybody seemed to go a bit mental. But Dave Hedges still in third. A really impressive showing from Dave Hedges. He qualified second. And we see, whoa, Mark Winwood and Steve Boyce. We just cut to that at the right moment. That's Mark Winwood going around the outside of Steve Boyce going into that corner. That was a mega move. You see the grading on the front left tyre as the sun bounces off it. And both using each other as tow to pull each other right up to the back of Dan Ryan, who's just ahead of them, and then Dane Oliver, who's done a fine job to get back into the position that he lost earlier on after being in a strong third position. So he's right on the back of him now. Steve Boyce and Mark Winwood are definitely going to be the ones to watch this time by down the straight. We've got a few more changes for the lead. In fact, Dane Oliver moves up into fifth place ahead of Darren Kirk there, just in the distance. So that's a great battle as well. We've got Chris Hardwick now recovering. And there's some contact there with Dan Ryan and Darren Kirk. Going side by side. Darren's going to come back onto the track and hit Dan Ryan. So, whoa, how did they save that? That was incredible. If that was GT cars, that would have been absolute carnage, I think. But thankfully, we've got away with that. But Darren just getting a bit squirrel. I don't think it was intentional. We just ended up the car just squirming off to one side and collecting Dan Ryan there. But thankfully, both of them got away with it. Because in the background, we see, I think that was Steve Boyce and Mark Winwood. Yes, it was. So, Mark Winwood's been forced off onto the grass, in fact, by Steve Boyce. And trying to, a bit of irony there. And they continue on around this long corner. We've got less than a minute left of this race. This race has absolutely flown by, but it's going to be Jack Ashton who definitely, well, as long as he keeps on the road and doesn't bend it, is definitely going to take the lead of this race. He's been absolutely dominant in this series so far. Matt Goodger-Scott, let's see if he can make it to the end. How much fuel does he have left? I don't really know. But we'll try and attract the attention of Colin, but we're going to see. DJ's coming over. And we're going to see what have you got to tell us.
Well, on the Darren incident just then, well, Pod 9, I don't know who it is. Who is Pod 9? Dan Ryan. Okay, he came out of nowhere. He was miles behind, but the way Darren rejoined the circuit was very aggressive.
I don't think he had much of a choice. He was on the grass, and then the car kind of snapped back on him. But
I would agree with that. But
no further action. So we are in the last lap. So Jack Ashton, he's just coming around the final couple of corners now. It's been an impressive show from him. He's just stormed away with it. Dave Hedges and Matt Goodger-Scott are going to be very, very, very close coming into this, into the last. Well, to see who can get the last podium position. But Darren Kirk and Dan Ryan still fighting. But in fact, there's contact between Dan Ryan and Darren Kirk. They both go off, and that means that Steve Boyce was able to move up in sixth place there. But Jack Ashton comes through to the final race of this evening. An impressive show from him. Squirms the car left to right, and impressive show from Jack Ashton, as always, to take the finish in a fine style. We've got Matt Goodger-Scott, who's going to just come around in second place, potentially completely out of fuel. It's well done to him. He finishes in a strong second place. Dave Hedges, impressive show from him in third. Chris Hardwick comes through in fourth position. We've got another car. Dave Hedges really forgetting to brake coming into turn one, but never mind about that. Dane Oliver, in fact, an impressive fifth position after having a bit of trouble in the pit stop. Colin Talbot is very happy next to me because his Matt Goodger-Scott teammate has finished in second place. Just how much fuel did he have?
0.08.
0.08, so literally nothing at all. So that's how you do it, really, isn't it? That is absolutely spot on. So continuing our roundups, we've got Mark Winwood in 8th place, Dan Ryan in 9th, Michael Boulding in 10th, David Robson in 11th, Ian Redmond in 12th, Chris Wilson in 13th, Paul Day and Nathan Burton completing the grid in 14th and 15th. That has been the USSC races for this evening completed. So well done to all drivers. It's been fantastic racing up and down. Everybody really enjoying themselves. So well done to them, and we'll hopefully see you next time. We'll do the podium presentations now as well. Yes, we will. So we'll stay on board for that. We'll see all the drivers collect trophies. But I've been Callum Cripps, sitting next to Ben Turner, the director of Simply Race, and we'll be back for the podium presentation shortly.